All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, June 6, 2014. And this is Before the First Cup with Jules on UCY.tv on Friday. I don't know. Wendy and Zori apparently cannot connect, and I'm being told that chat rooms don't work. I don't know. Everything's working here. Maybe. Are they connected now?
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
She got a lot of sleep again, I could tell.
Yeah. So, what's going on? The phone didn't pick up?
I'm not sure what the hell's going on. My chat room's still trying to load. I mean...
Flash? And I'll tell you what, when I get that flash crash, it attacks my Skype, too.
Oh, maybe that's what happened then.
Could be.
Dang.
Hey, Microsoft's got a DARPA employee now, so look out.
Oh, that's right.
Huh?
Oh, yeah. I remember now.
Right at the end of the show, I read it. I can go back there today. We'll look at that. Because it was like at the very end of the show, I was just... and then it was over.
Yeah, I missed it.
Those guys they're all nice and embedded butt buddies. Up at the very top there. Oh, man. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. They just got ganging up.
Yeah, they're working all integrated. They're integrating now.
I mean, DARPA, involved in all our colleges and then with all the internet. DARPA's everywhere now.
Weather mod,
They are the big evil eye at the top of the pyramid, right. I think. I think every government is somehow connected, first of all, right? I mean, this is all just big game. This whole G7 thing with Putin not allowed.
I know.
You better believe that somewhere in the background they're rubbing elbows at a caviar toast. And,
right.
Hecty and I were talking in chat last night after Drew and Chuck show was over, and I saw a story out of RT that North Korea and Russia started trading in the ruble.
Really?
Yes!
That's huge.
That is huge. But, North Korea's been a communist country. They've been rubbing each other's tushies together for a long time in the show.
That's right.
Kim Jong-un is fresh meat.
I saw on one of the Pigmine videos, too, that they just inked a deal for a freaking pipeline to go from Russia to North Korea.
Oh, I missed that. I was sleeping yesterday, so I haven't seen any of the uploads yet.
Yeah.
Look at that one, because that's huge. That's a huge deal.
It really is. There's one on there, though. I just saw it. It's like, oh, my God, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, that's probably why they decided to ink it in rubles. Didn't they do the same thing with China when they struck an oil deal in Iran?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's amazing. There are still people out there that don't even know what DARPA is. I mean, they very seldom talk about it on the news. So if you don't,
They never talk about DARPA in the news. I mean, very, very, very rarely on maybe a clip from RT, maybe a clip from Press TV, which is Iranian television. Do you ever hear DARPA mentioned? But think about it. You never, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, do you ever hear DARPA mentioned?
Heck no.
No, they're the secret black ops that isn't so secret anymore because we're on to their shit. And
that's right.
You know what gave them away, I think, is and if they could get rid of this, they would. And I wonder if this is why the Pentagon is crying the blues about having to give line item budgeting for their budgets and stuff, is that FBO.gov, where they, by law, when they go to bid an all government contract, by law, has to go to bid, they have to post their requirements out there and when they're looking for proposals. And I'll tell you what, that's where I found out about Living Foundry. That whole synthetic biology project, and then started to research it, and then you can find some info. But if it wasn't for the FBO.gov, I wouldn't know about half the stuff that I know about now.
Yeah, right, all they ever mention is the university that's doing this study.
That maybe got, $1 million from DARPA. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's scary too, because they're starting to like clamp down on like their press releases there in Washington, and they're starting not to tell people what the hell's going on, and all they got to do, and it doesn't matter if they break the law or not. They're just gonna stop. Maybe they'll stop, submitting stuff on that BizOps thing. You know what I mean? That's all they got to do is just do it secret backdoor. Like they don't ever like submit stuff when they wanna ramp up their mercenary thing. They never submit for mercenaries on there, do they?
Well, the
contracts they do.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, the thing is the mercenary contracts have probably been in place for a long time. So this isn't anything new, and typically when they do something like that, they'll do it for like 5 years extended pricing, give it to us guaranteed. So, at some point something might show up though. Once it's time for contract renewal, it'll have to be posted somewhere, yes.
Yeah, okay. That makes all kinds of sense.
I'll tell you what, you ever want, if you're bored on a Friday night and you're hanging around getting a little buzzed, FBO.gov, and I don't know, once you get in there, maybe if I get a second, I'll go look and I can tell you guys exactly where to go, but once you get in there, there should just be a section for contracts or search contracts or whatever. Just type in DARPA, DARPA, and it'll bring up all the current contracts that are out there. And then, a lot of it'll be techno, mumbo, jumbo, blah, blah, blah. And it's usually, oh my God, I used to respond to bids as part of what I did. And I always dreaded because it'd be like 100 pages of bullshit to read. And then they'd give you exact specifications of, how many paragraphs, how many indents, how many spaces in your responses have to have paragraphs indented. So, they had ways to weed people out. So if you did anything wrong, regardless if your pricing was great, they would always have the excuse to say, poop, you're disqualified because you didn't follow our directions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was really irritating. And there was always a deadline. And it was, like 2 days from now. With unreasonable amounts of work. So you'd have to work 14-hour days to get a bid done. And because you're bidding against 50 other people and everybody's trying to win, everyone's going in with the smallest margins possible. So you're lucky even if you do win and you put all that time and effort into the proposal, you might get 1% profit.
Wow.
Right. To me, bids were a pain in the ass and not worth it at all. And the feds are a bunch of dickheads when it comes to paying bills. And, they always ask for, like, the nth degree best possible deal. Like, we want pricing guaranteed for the next 10 years. How can you do that with inflation?
Yeah.
And they would force it, though. And the company I worked for was such a bunch of whores. That's what they would do, because they just love, once you're in bed with those guys, you could do all kinds of things. So they would guarantee, like, all the phone system parts for 10 freaking years. I'm like, guys, these systems have been long gone out of business for 15 already. How are you going to get parts for 10 more years at the current price?
No kidding.
Right? You're going to be buying gray market, secondhand, used off of eBay at, market price. That's crazy. But these bids would call for guarantees. So, like, I would look at, honestly, the government bids to me, between the government and the corporation was almost criminal. It was, the feds would use their power and their influence and put out these bids with these unreasonable requests in them. Everyone would be like little freaking puppy dogs with their tongues hanging, running after these stupid bids, chasing their tail for all this time and effort. Maybe you'd win 1 in 10, and then when you did win it, it was a tiny margin. And oh God forbid you ever had a mistake. What say there was an adding mistake or something? You are on the hook for that. The feds say, screw you. Ha! You made the mistake. So
Really? Like they hold that shit against you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, you pay for it. You eat it as the company.
Kind of like the IRS. When you submit to the IRS if you make a mistake. Woohoo!
No, they're pretty good, actually.
I know.
I've had a couple times where I've gotten a note in the mail saying that we found a small error on your return and we've corrected it. I mean, it was nothing major. It was probably like I added wrong or something, but they've actually, that happened to me twice. They sent me a little note just saying, you made a little mistake, we fixed it.
You know,
So
patents do the
what kind
same thing. Whenever you submit a patent, right to every last detail has to be perfect.
Right.
And if it's not, they send it back to you. Well, you know what? A lot of times, and patent is just as corrupt as the rest. You know, they'll take that patent and do it.
Well, that's why you do something like, I don't even remember the name of that website now. There's a website out there that you can go out, search all the patents, and then you can get yourself, there's an online patenting tool now. My friend actually used that. It was pretty good. And
Because it's searching. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, it does all the searches and legwork for you. So when you submit, as long as you got your diagrams and all the stuff that they ask for, you need to have drawings. And you also got to have my friend's got all these inventions. I've been trying to encourage them. I'm like, Jesus, do you know how much money you can make if you patent some of this shit? I really think you should, but you got to have prototypes also.
Yep. Yeah.
And so that's where the money comes in, because you got to actually make a working prototype.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those do you have to have? Like more than one prototype?
No,
just one prototype. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just to show that it works, but to actually apply for a patent, you have to prove that it's going to be useful to the human race too.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that hysterical? I thought it was funny.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
you know, like we were going to do it, but in those days you didn't have an app, and searching through patents.
Oh yeah.
And long.
You'd have to get an attorney before the days of the internet, because someone actually would have to go to the patent office.
Right.
Now, actually, the patent office itself is online, so if you wanted to just go through and start scraping through patents yourself, you could. And it's pretty cool because all the documentation, the diagrams, everything's out there. But there are tools out there for copyrights and patents that now you can pay a few $100 and you can get all the searches done and get some assistance in putting that all together.
There's the poor man's patent, too. I did
Yeah,
that.
my dad did that.
Mine's still in my case.
Yeah, he still got his, too. He put the wax seal on it, and he sent it to himself.
Yep, don't open it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if they would ever hold up in court. If it were
They have.
Yeah, but think about it. If it were some multi-billion-dollar idea, right, that, like, Microsoft released, and you're like, hey, I came up with that in the 80s. Look, here's my envelope. You know,
But it will hold up in court. It does hold up in court.
Yeah, I'm saying, like,
yeah.
If it were someone like Microsoft or Google, they'd be like,
yeah, forget it.
It would laugh at you.
Yeah.
It just kill you off.
How do you say that better? It's PFFT. There.
Yeah. That's what JJ said.
Yes, that was a JJ. That would be a Microsoft response.
That's That's funny.
My lips weren't working right yet. It was coming out as a psst. Not a psst. Oh,
funny.
So as I'm scrolling through, I still got to do the coffee cup, which I'll do in a second here. But as I was scrolling through, one of the first stories that I saw, and let's make everybody melt. I don't know if there's going to be sound here, but we could play this. Was a gentleman saving a little squirrel from drowning, and he does CPR on this little squirrel. He's got this little squirrel hanging over like a the top bar to a chain link fence or something. Actually, there's no chain, so this is over a little bar, and he's rubbing his back, and the little thing starts coughing, and then like brings his head up, and you see him like coming out of it. It was the cutest thing I have ever seen.
Oh shit! I'm gonna have to go look at that.
Link.
Yeah, I'll put the link in chat. I don't know if there's really any sound. I mean, I guess we could.
So he revived it?
He revived this
Oh,
little squirrel who must have fallen into a pond or a pool or something.
My goodness.
Oh, that's too sweet. Oh my God.
So, happy Friday.
Yeah. A squirrel lives.
Yesterday, my cats, it was in the morning, it was really nice out. And my cats, I don't know, my parents even say my cats are different than most cats because I treat my cats like people. I always have, though. I talk to them, and, we have conversations. It was different. When I lived by myself, my cats were my roommates. You know what I mean? So we had a pretty close one-on-one. I mean, I understood my cats, and they understood me. So anyone who says that animals can't communicate is full of shit, because, I mean...
Oh, you can.
When you live in a house full of people and animals, that's all disjointed. That communication maybe still exists, but not like when you're one-on-one with an animal. You know what I mean?
Right, that's true.
Well, you know that too, Wendy, right? With your dog.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's just me and my one dog.
And, I mean, they can feel your emotions, and they, I don't know. My Oliver was the greatest cat ever. But anyway, he's long gone. But I have my 3 cats now upstairs. And 2 of them are absolutely, like, some of the coolest cats I ever had. And they have had these new friends coming to visit on the deck. And I think a few weeks ago I told you guys about the baby raccoon.
Yeah.
They were all freaking out. And I was like, what is it? Loud chipmunk. So yesterday I had tossed, it was a sunny morning. I opened the sliding door, and I have all the kitty condos kind of on the one side in front of the windows there. I have a sliding door, and then on the other side of the sliding door, I had another door pane put in. So it's like a double, not a double door, but like the sliding doors in the center, and then on both sides, it's a floor-to-ceiling door window. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, like a sliding glass door. The one side opens, the other side's glass.
Sure,
so I had a piece of glass put on the other side, too, so it's symmetrical. You guys know how much I like symmetry, organization. But it looks cool because now you have these 2 nice big windows, and then you can have the door in the middle. So on the one far side, we have the kitty condo complex, which if I were a cat, I would love that spot. So it's floor-to-ceiling window to the deck where all their fuzzy creatures come every morning.
That's cute.
And there's... I mean, my greenhouse is out there, and we have the strawberry plants all hanging up over there, so the birds will come snag strawberries. We have this little cardinal that's been coming every morning, and he not only steals peanuts, but in the summer he'll steal strawberries out of the pots, too, and run off with them.
Wow.
So, I'd go to get, like, the big juicy one I was watching for 2 days, and I had a big bite mark out of it. I'm like, damn.
You little bastard.
So, yesterday I threw some peanuts out just before I came out here, and I went up to get coffee at one point, and my cat Simon is, like, doing Psycho Kitty, like they get all excited.
Yeah.
And there's one of the condos has that big, thick sisal rope, like the stuff that they use on sailing ships, the super thick. They had shredded one of the posts that had rug on it years ago, so I went to one of the hardware stores and just found the thickest sisal rope I could find. And I think I did hot glue and staples, actually, on either end, but I redid the whole post with this rope. Well, when they get psycho, that's like the best thing to hang out of with their nails. So he's going all crazy because the squirrel is like right in front of the door, very casually chowing a peanut.
Oh, that's funny.
He just takes this flying leap in the air to this post with the rope on it, all 4 feet with the claws sunk in, and he's like, I mean, it was almost like he was moonwalking or something. Bing!
That's awesome.
Backflips. So anyway.
Geez, when my other dog was alive, a squirrel would just sit here. This tree is like almost, couple arms lengths away from my window. The squirrel would hang out and look at the 2 barking dogs barking just insanely at the window, and he would just be there and hanging out going,
he'd be like, ha, ha,
you can't get me, right? And these dogs would be just going, biting at the window and everything. 2 pit bulls.
And squirrels are definitely smart too, so they know.
Very smart, yes.
They're like, ha. Yeah, screw you, big time.
That's right. That's funny.
One time up in my tree, we have this gray squirrel. It's pretty big, and it was the funniest thing. I guess it got into this woodpecker's. I was trying to get this woodpecker's nest, get the eggs, and this woodpecker chased that squirrel. I mean, that squirrel was running, flying from tree to tree, and that woodpecker was diving at him and everything. Oh, it's just hilarious. I wish I would have had a video at the time.
Yeah, squirrels and birds have an ongoing war. I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah, even in the fruit trees, I think I talked about this before, that big old pear tree I used to have at my apartment in Buffalo that hung over the end of the driveway right where my car parked. That was my parking spot. And in the summertime, it was awful because the rotting pears would be dropping out of the trees and going thunk, 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 because it's hitting the hood of my car and splatting juice everywhere. So by the time I come out, I was covered in wasps and bees all over my car. And it took paint off because then I, of course, wouldn't wash it off. It would get all sticky and hard. And then it would take chunks of paint off. So one morning, this was my cat Oliver. That was when I lived in the city years back. And it was just me and Ollie, and that was Oliver's favorite spot, was in the bedroom window because of that pear tree and the ongoing daily war between the crows and the squirrels.
Wow.
Over the pears.
Oh my God, they get up and they do the same damn war every day. It's weird.
Oh, and they make that noise. The squirrels and the birds are like, "Oh yeah, watch, I can fly."
Yeah, then they dive at them.
Right, they dive bomb them. And that's when you hear the squirrel like squeal, and then the pear drops and goes thunk on the hood of my car. I really think that's what was going on too.
Oh
they
my
were checking your car.
So anyway,
wow.
So
there's geese that do that. There's geese that do that here. There's just every day. It's the same crap over and over again. It's an ongoing war.
With what, the squirrels?
Geese. No, the geese. The geese and amongst themselves. They do the same shit every day. Oh my God. I don't know. Animals war with each other. They do.
Well, really, technically, by scientific standards, the only other creatures I thought on the planet Earth that they discovered that had real wars were ants.
Ah.
Oh, really?
Ants have real wars, yes.
Wow.
Humans and ants.
Like strategic wars.
Like strategic wars, yes.
Not the rest of the stuff, the animal stuff we're talking about is just skirmishes.
Right.
Yeah.
Altercations.
Right. Street fights. Not turf wars.
Yeah, well, turf wars, but ants actually can be pretty vicious. And I don't know, I haven't read any studies recently. That was years ago I read that, but there have been a lot of studies now over the last few years using ants to understand the whole swarm, all the mathematics behind swarming and the swarm mind. And, I mean, they're doing that research again for DARPA!
Get a chance. There's a movie out called Phase 4, and it's about these ants and how they function and how they, strategically will surround and just like an army. And they say if they were any bigger, they could take over the earth.
Well, yes, just like an army. I mean, they literally, you could be killed by ants.
Easy. Yep.
Yeah, ants definitely have...
and they can get everywhere. There's no way to secure, where you are from them.
Unless you put diatomaceous earth or some sort of combat raid shit.
Well, they'll even cross a river. They will make a living raft out of the ants and and move it so that the ants can go across the top and they sacrifice themselves.
They'll hang even across like where there's no water, where there's a ravine, and they'll hook onto each other and make an ant bridge so the others can all get across. Yeah, there was a video that showed some of the ant dynamics. was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
that would be
scary
really.
too.
That would be just insanely crazy to make that DARPA technology, like little tiny, like ant-like drones.
I'm going to tell you, you just said the word. It would be crazy. Those crazy ants, I don't know. They said they came from South America, but these are these ants that kill the indigenous ants. Nothing really kills them, they've discovered. They're very hard to get rid of. And they eat electronics.
Yeah.
Whoa, I was like, wait a second. Just like the pterodactyl-sized mosquitoes that just mysteriously blew into Florida that we know everything about. And it's like stabbing you with knives through your clothing. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I have a feeling that they've already been working on some of that stuff because hive mentality, DARPA's been studying for quite a while, and it's because they work like the Borg.
Yep.
They need that with their drones and with these little mini robots.
Yes.
You know, think of nanotechnology working in a swarm.
Oh, I know.
It would be like the ultimate replicator. If you guys ever watched, what was that show? Stargate SG-1. And they had the replicators. And the replicators always would, you know, they'd infiltrate by getting into all your electronics and everything. But one of the things that I always saw the replicators as being is on the fly. I mean, now it's you know, I don't know. It's a helicopter.
Right.
Now it's, and they already have some of that technology, and I mean, it's not replicator-based technology, so don't get me wrong, but DARPA's been working on a lot of that transformer technology where it can go from a Humvee to a helicopter to an airplane to a ship. Like Maxwell Smart type shit, you know?
Yeah, like the Transformer movie that's coming out. There's a new Transformer movie coming out, too. It's like in 3D IMAX and all this crap, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they're promoting the shit out of it.
Pay attention. That's all I gotta say.
That's
you know how they do that stuff, right?
Yup. Absolutely.
Yeah, pay attention.
Yeah, because now, I mean, we have ones that can swim and fly and jump leaps and bounds. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of scary stuff out there through DARPA.
Who knows what the hell they've got in the deepest coffers of their basement, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap,
Things
man.
we won't find out about for 5 years, you know, after they've been using it for a couple.
Right.
So, have you guys watched any news? Do you have anything besides DARPA? Because I wasn't planning on talking about DARPA today, but as you talk about DARPA, it means I can't concentrate and find a cup. And it's now 9:30.
Okay. I've got a really, really screwed up article that I came across this morning. My freaking chat room's still not freaking loading. This is just, we always like kind of go on about like how people have become devoid of their humanity. Here's an article, and it says onlookers allegedly steal groceries from a woman killed in a car crash.
Oh, it sounds like it's in New York City.
It says
New York City is like that.
Damn, man, it's in Houston. So this happened in Texas. A 23-year-old mother was killed and her 2 young children suffered injuries in a wreck Wednesday, Houston police said. The woman's sons, ages 4 and 6, were in the back seat and were transferred to a hospital with broken bones but no life-threatening injuries, said a DHP spokesman. The mother failed to yield when she was leaving a private drive around 5 p.m. Then she lost control of her Toyota 4Runner and hit a tree after a Mercedes E320 traveling northbound clipped her. Police
and he probably was a fuckhead.
Yeah,
driving a Mercedes was $800 a month freaking lease. He was probably a total fuckhead. And you know they have huge engines in those things.
Oh, so they can like just.
He probably stomped it. Yeah, and
yes.
said, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Asshole. I hope they get him on that Argus 1.8 gigapixel and get
Hell yeah.
license plate.
You damn straight on that. That was a bastard. Obviously, you could just totally see this. And then police said
I could see the whole thing happening, exactly.
Yup, police said she was traveling at a high rate of speed. So I don't know if it was the mother that was, or the Mercedes.
It was the Mercedes.
Right.
He was pissed off because she wasn't going fast enough with her 4 and her 6-year-old in the back seat.
Right.
And she didn't yield. She didn't yield, so she pulled out, and she was going slow, and he was probably going fast. And he's like, "Bleh." I bet you that's exactly what happened in his fast car, Mr. I'm so self-important.
Exactly. That you freaking caused the death.
That's why you have a fast car, is because you want people to go, oh, look at how important you are.
Exactly.
Because you have ego issues.
Right.
And your mother didn't pay enough attention to you when you were a child.
Exactly.
I mean, trust me, I know a lot of people like that. They're very irritating individuals.
Very much so.
Look at me.
I agree. All right, let me keep going because this gets crazy. All right, according to ABC 13 News, eyewitnesses told police they saw people steal groceries out of the dead woman's SUV. The TV station said the driver had attended a ceremony of her 4-year-old's elementary school, went to a grocery store, then dropped off a friend, and then crashed her car on the way home. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the Mercedes was not injured.
So they know who he is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Investigators determined items were stolen from the vehicle. They could pursue criminal charges against the perpetrators, but he said police did not have any information about the stolen groceries. So this asshole in a Mercedes must have pulled over.
Walks away.
And watched these assholes go in and steal the groceries? Really? Oh my!
Did it say that? I didn't hear it say that the guys reported that they were stealing groceries.
No. I
doubt he even stopped.
The picture of it. I mean, if the guy had, known he clipped that. I mean, because you're supposed to pull over, right? I mean, it's illegal to. It didn't say that the person in the Mercedes took off either. So I am assuming that this person in the Mercedes pulled over and waited for the police, because it didn't say that they took off. So in other words, if that's the case, if the Mercedes person he didn't do anything to stop this looting of this woman's groceries with her 2 kids in the back freaking seat? I mean, and their mother dead in the front seat? I don't know.
I mean,
what is the matter with people?
I don't know. I didn't hear that he stopped, and I would doubt that if he clipped her and buzzed her, he was going to pull over.
Yeah.
How would he? I mean, he wouldn't know if he was doing 80 miles an hour and he took off, unless when he went by her, he clipped her bumper and she went out of control.
That's what happened, and she crashed into a tree.
I mean, regardless if he watched them take groceries or not,
right,
since that isn't expressed anywhere in the story,
right,
who the fuck were these people that took the groceries?
Dude, I know. I mean,
were they people that lived around there? Did she crash in, like, the ghetto of Houston or wherever it was?
It doesn't really say. It's I don't understand. I guess it was a bad area, so she just happened to lose control of the car and crash into a tree. Just sucks. It's unbelievable how people would do that, especially with 2 kids in the backseat, and you're stealing the groceries. Man.
Well, how about a dead woman in the front seat?
And nobody's rendering aid.
Well, in New York, I think I told you guys about that guy who had apparently had that heart attack in the subway station. And I mean, we're not talking some little linky-dink. We're talking like in Greenwich Village on 4th Street, like right by NYU. So major busy. He's in a suit with a he had a tie on, but his tie, I mean, he must have at some point, but his tie was gone, and his one button was undone, like on the collar. His shirt was half undone. His arms are splayed out. His briefcase is open, laying next to him, and shit's all over, and everyone just kept walking by. So he obviously, he looked like someone had rifled through all of his pockets and gone through his shit, and he's just sitting there dead, and nobody's paying attention to him. Even the cops got on. There were 2 cops, because Heidi and I were in New York. I mean, we went, when she was in school up here, when we were in school together, my sister was in NYU, we were at UB, we used to go all the time, because it was $99 flight, took you 45 minutes, and then they used to have the deal, you know, bring a friend for a penny. So we get round-trip plane tickets for $50 to New York. And that's a place to stay. You know, I had a key to my sister's place. So
that's awesome.
We would freaking go party our asses off in New York quite often. But who the hell? Oh, yeah, sorry. Sparkles is calling me. I think they want me to come party this weekend, speaking of partying, but I can't. Yeah, so we would go party in New York, but we saw some pretty crazy stuff.
Wow, I bet. That's horrible. I mean, just step over the guy,
the
even
cops.
loot him.
And of course the cops don't want to stop because that means more paperwork.
Oh, shit.
Well, it's just like that case where it came out that it's not the police's job to protect you. Their job is to enforce the law, like those 2 cops in that subway when that guy was getting beat up and they were watching through the window and the door.
I remember that. Yeah. When he was trying to apprehend the guy who had been on this killing spree, actually. Do you remember that? The guy had been on a killing spree, and they had no requirement to protect him.
Nope, they watched him getting beat up on the other side of that door through a window. They didn't, and that's when it came out that no, law enforcement is not obligated to protect you. That's why they took off to protect and serve off their police cards. They are there to enforce the law, period.
Yep. All right, we're going to do Weasel Coffee this morning.
What's that?
This is that Tibbet. I don't know if you guys saw this. I thought it was dung, but this says it's weasel puke.
Weasel puke?
Yeah, they. I've heard about this coffee for a while. It's a huge delicacy too, and it's very, very, very expensive. And it's supposed to be like so delicious. And I thought it was poop though. I thought it was as the coffee beans passed through, and then they pooped them out, and that was like this delicacy. But no, it's that they eat them. These are these Vietnamese animals. I think they're called tivets, but they look like little weasels. But yeah, they eat these beans, but they don't sit well, so they puke them up.
Whoa!
And then they sell.
The local people collect them up, yes, and they make delicious coffee out of them because the stomach acid wears away the bitter taste. So it's really delicious coffee. So actually, maybe there are some that it's pooped out too, but this one in particular, it's puked out.
Wow.
It's on It's on a great website called tackyraccoons.com. Oh, this is awesome. I'm going to even put a link to this person's website.
That's pretty wild.
Just to give them kudos because they advertised for, and it's not even advertising, it's just a little story about Tacky Coffee.
And is it real expensive?
They're not selling it, but I've seen stories on it. Yeah, it's very expensive. Because you got to go collect the puked out beans by hand out of the jungle.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Well, if it catches on, there'll be these big warehouses with little square cubicles where they feed them, so they throw it up, and then they sell it.
Oh, my
God. Like minks. They look like little minks.
Aw.
God, and they're eating coffee, so they're just going in the cage, spinning around and around.
Yeah, give them the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, crazy! Don't give him any ideas, Ori. Wow. Unbelievable.
Okay, so do we have any news? There's tons. I mean, there's so much going on right now. I'm typing right now, so in a few minutes, I'm going to grab something. Someone needs to grab a piece of news and talk about it.
Alright, I'll grab this one. I don't know what Vodafone is. Have no idea. But it says governments
used to be the call-in, right? They did that on Seinfeld. Wasn't that Kramer with the Vodafone, the movie?
Oh.
Where he'd have the automated movie times? Is that what it is? I don't know. I remember them mentioning that on there.
See, I never saw that. I never watched that. So I have no idea. It says, though, government agencies are able to listen to phone conversations live and even track the locations of citizens without warrants using secret cables connected directly to network equipment, admits Vodafone today. So government agencies are able to listen to phone conversations live, and I just read that. The company said that the secret wires have been connected to its network and those belonging to its competitors, and of those belonging to its competitors, giving government agencies the ability to tap into phone and broadband traffic.
Yeah, but, I'll tell you what, the phone stuff, the government's been in the back door since at least the 60s or the 70s.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know about the 60s. I know for certain in the 70s when my friend Reed was Mr. Phone Freak, Crackerjack, FBI visiting his house. That was like 1972.
Right. This is a thing in the UK. It's in the UK, and they're just now admitting it. Pretty much that's it.
Or is Vodafone, maybe it's a cell provider over there.
Yeah, it could be that too. It doesn't. It's a long freaking article. I don't know. Not that long.
But yeah, they've had cables. They put these key loggers on things. I mean, don't think that they haven't been doing that everywhere.
Right.
Even in the late 90s, early 2000s, we were talking about this, and there were lawsuits, and all the internet service providers and the phone companies are going, oh, we're going to get sued if we give you data. And they're like, give us data. So then they passed whatever that act was, and I don't know, there have been so many in just so many years. I don't remember which one it was, but there were all kinds of things, and they pretty much gave the government carte blanche when they said, hey, guess what, service providers, none of you are held liable for anything.
There we go.
And that was it. And then it was bend over, because it's like, all right, they didn't give it two shits anymore. Okay, we can't get sued, go for it. And they just, I'm going to tell you, I have friends who are working in technology like me for many years, and when, we all went our separate ways, we still keep up, and a lot of people are at a lot of different large, like, cable providers and phone providers now, and I can tell you for a guaranteed fact that they have rooms where they have a staff dedicated to law enforcement requests.
Right.
So.
Well, I can absolutely assuredly tell you that before I ever got my cell phone, my landlines have been tapped for years.
Yeah.
So, and that's a certainty. So basically, this is just Vodafone coming out and admitting that the government's been doing this.
Right, but to what end? Right.
Right.
It's not like it's a big surprise, so Vodafone just got it off their chest.
Right. Right, exactly.
You feel better now.
Yep, that's that, pretty much.
Oh my god, this weasel coffee is edible, it says.
What? Oh, come on. What does that mean, edible? I mean, you can't...
Maybe because it was already eaten. Surprisingly delicious chocolatey taste.
Chocolatey taste! Oh my god! That's not that kind of chocolate. They're getting it out of the rear end. It's stomach file.
Regurgitated by a weasel. It says it right on the bag. God. Rare Vietnamese coffee.
Oh, it reminds me of that. I'm sorry.
No, that's for the real coffee fanatic. I mean, the hardcore.
No, that's what Death Wish is for. Actually, I was going to message Death Wish and ask them if they wanted to sponsor our show. Don't you remember when I did that stuff? I was
oh, God, yeah. I just wow, you drank the whole cup?
Yeah, I had a whole pot of that stuff made. It was like instant heart attack. Holy crap.
So nuts.
All right, Weasel Coffee. That's what the show is all about today.
Weasel poop. Or
No,
vomit.
this one's regurgitation. Wow. Patrick Stewart as a young man. I would have never have recognized him.
But I just saw the X-Men movie like last week, and his son, Patrick Stewart's son, plays Xavier in a younger point of his life in that movie. It's pretty cool. They actually have time travel in this movie, and so time travel is a pretty cool topic in any movie, really. So
Patrick Stewart is getting kind of old, too. I think he's pretty old. I mean, freaking Shatner, I believe, is in his 90s.
Yeah, something like that. He's really up there, and he looks like he's in his 70s.
I know, actually, he really does look good. I love Shatner for as obnoxious and self-involved as he is. You know, I guess he's got a real ego problem, but it's because he's Shatner.
Right.
How much cooler could you be, you know?
That reminds me of my dad in a way.
Does he?
Yeah, that's kind of how my dad is in a lot of ways. Because he's got the scarlet macaw bird, and he's, bare-chested down by the pool in Florida, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come up to him and stuff.
I love Boston Legal. Oh my God, that really brought out his talent.
Here in chat up above, I actually linked that picture from a young Patrick Stewart. I can't even see. I mean, maybe just a little tiny bit do I see a little bit of resemblance, but it does not look anything like him.
Wow.
Except for maybe the shape of the head.
I still can't.
Shatner's 83. Thanks, Jax.
83.
Yeah, I knew he was up there. I mean, honestly, he does not look 83.
That's amazing. Bellows, he's got, he's had facelifts and stuff, so.
Did you see his commercial when he's getting robbed and then he shoots the guy? Oh, God, it's great.
No, I saw him on a Harley pretending like he was a Harley dude, and this Harley bike gang comes up and he's playing out cool. It was really funny. I don't know, he was using like slang, but you know how like he'll do it and he sounds dumb using the slang. Okay, bro. Like that.
He definitely has had like some kind of Botox or something going on there.
Oh, Shatner or who?
Yeah, Shatner.
Yeah, but so what? He's the Shat.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who looks psycho with their Botox and their facelifts would be that freaking woman.
Joan Rivers?
Yes! Oh, my God! Like, she probably has had transfusions of freaking formaldehyde. You seen how psycho she looks?
Yeah.
Like, honey, you don't even look like the same person. It looks like they stitched a corpse together.
Yeah, man, just like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he went too far with those, too.
Yeah. And there was nothing more that they could do with his nose, because was pretty much all gone.
Well, they could probably clone one like they did in Sleeper.
Ooh. Cloning Michael Jackson noses.
Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Woody Allen? That was how I think, I don't know if it didn't start that way, but when Woody wakes up, like 10,000 years in the future, whatever it was, they were cloning the leader via his nose in a petri dish. It was just like this nose in a petri dish with all these leads connected to it.
Yeah.
This movie from the 70s. No, it was, long before cloning existed. So it was
That's amazing, because he probably had insider info to the freaking script about that.
No.
Well, they also had the Sexatron in it. It was
the Orgasmatron.
Well, the Orgasmatron. That's
right. And that Russian billionaire is talking about creating some of those, Mr. Transhumanist.
I heard that.
Yeah, because, hey, transhumanists won't have to have children, which means you don't have to have sex. So here, go into this little box that looks like the old school telephone. Close the door. We'll make sure the government records it all. we'll put it on your monthly maintenance calendar.
Oh, God.
And go along your happy way. And make sure you use your 4 qubits with the chip in your hand.
That's right. Monthly maintenance calendar.
Well, for a healthy populace.
That's right.
It's required.
Crazy.
I don't know.
Insanity.
All right, let's do something real now.
There you go.
Okay, well, it is Friday, though.
I know. But people listening are probably like, all right, guys, but like World War III's ramping up and you're talking about weasel puke coffee.
That's true, too.
You had mentioned about the pipeline, which I'm going to try to find. I know Boko Haram, I was tipped off yesterday. They went through and slaughtered an entire village, I heard.
Yes, 400 to 500 people. Actually, shit, I've got that right. Oh, it's on Pig.
I don't want to get into Boko Haram. I'm just mentioning it.
Okay.
There actually something I do want to talk about, because here's the thing. Oh my God! Actually, Pigmine shared the drowning squirrel. Ha! I found it somewhere else. Oh, damn. Well, I'll have to make sure I share that to my page. I found that on a different website. Yeah, that was the cutest video ever. In Canada, so we've been talking about all this false flag terror bullshit that's going to make us all look like loonies so we could do psychological evaluations and decide who's going to get guns and who isn't. By the latest yardstick, it sounds like probably none of us are going to be allowed to have guns eventually, because all of us are going to be considered mentally unsound, right?
Right.
Racial, what was it we were reading? Government, anti-government sentiment.
Yes,
and racial.
They just said racial profiling or whatever.
Yeah, so I would have to say that would be a good majority of us that they would try to include in there.
Yes.
But in Canada, which I'm not sure what the gun laws are in Canada, but I am pretty certain that they are way stricter than they are here. And I don't think that it is very easy to get a firearm in Canada, so not many people have them. And if we have any of our Canadian compadres in chat this morning, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on that. But I am pretty certain it is very difficult to get a gun up there. And we had this incident that happened yesterday that turned into a police bloodbath. 3 cops killed, 2 injured. I don't know if there's been any more now, but apparently there was a story of a young man, I believe he was 24, who decided he had had enough. This is at least what people are postulating, of government infringement. And he just wanted to exercise his right to be a free, sovereign individual and open carry while he was in camo through a neighborhood. Now, not a very good idea, I would say. So let this be a lesson to all of you. But I read an expose, or what would you call it? Somebody's take on the whole situation yesterday, and though I didn't agree with some of what they were calling for, I did agree with some other stuff, and they were absolutely right. This guy was probably just another one, like many of us, that have been sitting here watching this police state come down on top of everyone, who just finally, it was the last straw. He wasn't doing anything dangerous, but he needed to go out and do something. And so this was his way of protesting. Except that Mrs. Kravitz decided to call the police. And when Mrs. Kravitz called the police, as she's peeking out her window, the police show up and it turns into a major gun battle. This guy turns and shoots. They got footage of pictures of him now. Now he's the rebel running. They're armed and dangerous. They put the entire city in lockdown, people.
Oh, my God. Really?
Oh, yes. So, yeah, absolutely, Shally. Manipulated. We've been watching it. I mean, just here over the last 3 days, we had all these psycho things happen here. Then we got the psychological Android app and the new Department of Justice domestic terror group, right? Where they're going to be psychologically profiling. Well, everything we do, I don't care if there are some Canadians out there who keep telling us that we're so screwed as Americans because we're Canadians. No, Canada. You are butt buddies with Obama. So anything that happens here is going to happen there. So you had to have your own mass shooting and your own psychopathic sovereign citizen running around in camouflage with 2 AR-15s over his shoulder. I don't know if they were ARs, but they look like semi-automatic rifles. And that's why they want it in everybody's mind. Don't you think, you Canadians, that as they take the guns away from the Americans, that you guys are going to be any better off? They're going to pound it into our minds. It's UN agenda, remember?
That's right.
They tried to fight this in New York, or in the UN in New York. They want global gun control, small arms treaty. Get it?
Yep.
That's what it's about. So anyway, yeah, the second I saw this, I was like, bullshit. I mean, yeah, maybe this guy's out there, they're using this, but bullshit. Maybe they just kind of set up some barricades or kind of kept their distance, not come barrel-assing in with cop cars and surrounding the dude.
Right, and firing.
And it'll be interesting to find out if he's on SSRIs. And hey, I'm going to tell you guys, all these idiots that keep putting out these stories about SSRIs and, oh, look at all the violence. Not one single article that I have seen to date still has the full truth.
Right.
I told you guys, Dr. Lucier discovered through DNA testing of inmates who had never been violent before, who had violent outbursts and killed people, that put them into prison, that every single one of them had been on SSRIs, and every single one of them had the suppressed CYP450 enzyme. And then I found the study that put the last piece of the puzzle together, that the glyphosate, more affectionately known as DARPA, they have shown through studies suppresses the cytochrome CYP450 enzyme. So it's the freaking Roundup that is causing that enzyme to be suppressed. So then when you are given mood-altering drugs, it causes you to be violent. It's the freaking Roundup. It's Monsanto.
Man, this whole thing is one giant insidious plot.
Sure is. And I don't know why nobody has gotten it yet. Every story I see, all the panhandlers out there who write their bullshit stories, with big pictures of pills, and they go through and, an article is a list of 85 people on drugs who've gotten violent. That's not a freaking story. Where's your research? No shit, they were on drugs. We know that. Why did they get violent? The drugs didn't make them violent. The CYP450 suppression made them violent, which was caused by the glyphosate.
Well, it's not even publicized that they were all on drugs either. And not on mainstream. It's the guns. They just, it's all about the guns. It's not about the reason that they went out and killed all those people.
Well, I think a lot of the cases, it probably comes up at some point that they might have been on medication. I mean, this last one, the psychopathic kid in Southern California, the stabber shooter.
Yeah.
He had been in treatment for quite a number of years, apparently.
Right.
And the cops had known about his psycho videos online and never even watched them when the parents had called the police previously.
Right.
So, I don't know, that was almost like they wanted that shit to happen.
Yeah, really? I mean, exactly. That's it. And you never know when
what
this
therapist
toxic
is doing to
you never
push
know.
him.
What?
I mean, they're psychiatrists. They're all in on this.
No, they're not. Not all.
You don't think so?
We got Dr. Simon. Absolutely not.
No, some of them are just pill pushers. They don't try and help
Right,
anybody.
but you said they're all. No.
No, I said no.
Statement.
Oh, I didn't mean to say all. But a lot of them, they're just pill pushers. They don't care about the results, and they can be bought. And if they need another, killing, all you got to do is get with one of these corrupt psychiatrists to push their patient a little bit. I can see it happening.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just saying, not all. Just
right.
Like most doctors are like that too, but not all. I had some really good doctors.
I didn't think I said all, but I didn't mean to if I did. But yeah, there are a lot of corruption there.
Well, because it's all about the dangling carrot. You know, everything that's happening now, and I know people say it's not about money because the rich don't need money. No, but all the minions that do their evil bidding that are getting us to that point are the ones that are controlled and manipulated by the carrot. And that all, again, comes back from the early 1900s with Bernays.
Right.
Yep, that's where it started.
The dangle carrot. Better than the Joneses. Chase, 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 because you need to have more money to be successful and well-liked. And it motivates money-hungry individuals. So, hey, they can have their Beamer that then clips young mothers with 4- and 6-year-olds in the back seat so they crash into a tree.
Right. Absolutely. And then the toxic soup. This whole thing that they're you never know when someone's when these three chemicals converge just right in the brain, you know what I mean? Like you were talking about. And it's randomly, it just randomly happens all over the place.
Thing is, you don't know if it's random. That could have been by design. I couldn't doubt it. I mean, freaking Monsanto was an evil sack of shit. And hey, look, you mean to tell me that they didn't know what Agent Orange was going to do to people?
Right.
And the idea that the rich people don't need the money, bull. Rich people are the greediest people. They never have enough money.
Well, that's what I said. I've had some hot arguments over there, so I've just kind of agreed to disagree. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that rich people aren't doing it for the money. You know, how do you think they got rich?
Right.
If I had a wave clip of squeaking, I would.
I mean, rich people, they're the hardest ones to get a bill paid through them. If they owe you money, they will do everything in their power not to have to pay you.
Squeak,
and you see it all the time. Yeah. Rich people are the greediest people on the planet, period.
Well, they're the one who always calls that they be tax exempt. I mean,
well, they're the biggest freaking complainers on the planet, too. If you ever done business with a rich person, you don't want to do business with a rich person.
Right.
They're the type of people that God, I'm not going to go into any specifics, but we did business with this one group of people, and these guys were pretty well off. Every freaking fart they called you.
Jeez.
And they wouldn't just call you, they'd call 8 people within your company, all at the same time. Yeah, everybody running in circles over it, over some stupid thing that should have been like priority letter Z.
Right.
That made no difference in the grand scheme of things.
Unbelievable.
You know, how about if I did that to their company as a lowly consumer who didn't have a lot of money every time your service farted? I called 32 people within your cable organization, or, you know what I mean? Or within, or, I don't know. But it just doesn't work both ways.
Well, that's the mindset.
They're special.
They're better than everybody else.
All right. But not all. Though money corrupts. So I've seen people who used to be pretty humble who made it big and then became dickbags. So.
Right, absolutely.
Here, I just want to play. I didn't see any of the clips from yesterday. I watched them from the day before, but one of the ones from Canada.
Did you see him?
Well, maybe. This is the home video, though. That really doesn't tell you anything. Though, this is CNN, so maybe they'll go beyond.
A woman in Moncton, New Brunswick posted this chilling video on her Facebook page. It shows some of the initial chaos as a gunman roams the neighborhood and opens fire on a Canadian police officer.
While responding to a call of an armed man in the north end of the city of Moncton, 3 of Kodiak RCMP's officers were shot and killed. 2 other officers were also injured, but their life is not threatened at this time.
Officers swarmed on the subdivision, taking what cover they could behind their cruisers as authorities tried to locate the gunman. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police tweeted this photo of an armed suspect, a man wearing fatigues and carrying 2 rifles.
Yes.
They identified as 24-year-old Justin Bork, a resident of Moncton. On its Twitter page, the RCMP in New Brunswick warned residents to stay in their homes, to lock their doors, and to leave their outside lights on as police looked for the gunman. As helicopters flew overhead and officers scoured the area, the RCMP also asked people not to talk about police movements on social media.
Listen to that.
Even more officers could be put at risk. I'm Andrew Spencer reporting.
Now, this clip actually didn't say that they were in lockdown, but there was another one that was. People were told not to leave their homes, and I was waiting to see because I do not know, as far as last night, they hadn't found the guy, if they were going to start doing door-to-door searches.
I think they did find the guy.
Did they?
Yeah. I'm not in front of my computer.
Oh, wait. Yes, Canadian cop killer captured.
Yes.
Wow, that sounds like a tabloid headline. Who was that? Go ABC News. Yes, we'll listen to this one. But did you hear their description? He's a young man in fatigues with rifles. Yes, make sure that gets imprinted into your brain.
That's
so any hunter that's out there wearing their fatigues and having their rifles over their shoulder is going to be now a see something, say something candidate.
That's right.
That's what it's about. Imprint. And even if this guy had never done anything wrong, you know what? The majority of the people that heard the headline is only going to know that.
Right. And associate him with a cop killer.
Yep.
Call 911.
911 the second you see someone in camo.
Yep.
All right. Here, we're going to hear this one.
This is ABC's World News Now.
Hello to our fans online. I'm Lindsay Janice.
I'm John Muller with the top stories on this Friday, June 6th. A rampage so rare from our neighbors to the north has come to an end. Police in Moncton, Canada have arrested the man that they say shot and killed 3 police officers. 24-year-old Justin Bork is behind bars. The cold-blooded murders set off an intense manhunt that brought the area to a virtual standstill with people stuck in their homes for more than 24 hours. Bork was arrested in a backyard just after midnight. No word on a motive.
Okay. Now, unless Canadians are just so fucking polite, in any universe that I've been in the last couple years, any guy in fatigues with 2 rifles over his shoulder who just killed 3 cops would not be arrested and taken to jail.
Right. You'd never see the inside of jail.
You'd never see the inside of a cop car.
That's right.
Now, please. Is Canada that polite that they wouldn't, like, when they saw this dude surround him and the second he, like, waved a mosquito off his nose, they all took that as a threat? Yeah.
Yep. Or beaten within an inch of his life.
Right, and the crap kicked out of him. He was walking, and he looked all right.
They got their man.
Yeah, their man that they probably paid some money to. Wow, was this all a setup?
Oh,
I don't know. I'm not going to be stupid about it, but how did this dude walk away after killing 3 cops?
Yeah,
right.
That is curious. You know, and especially then afterwards, the cops crying about his buddy being killed. I mean, cops aren't polite. I don't care what country.
Yeah, did you hear him? He was all choked up. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't happen often that there are police shootings in Canada.
Well, yeah, because you can't have a gun. I mean, when we went through Canada just to get to Alaska, we had to leave our guns in the United States in a locker.
Really?
Yeah, they wouldn't even allow us. And we had them all separated and locked and the ammo locked in a separate part of the van and everything. But no. And we said, well, how are we supposed to get our guns there? They didn't care. We couldn't take them through. So, yeah, I mean, you can't get a gun up there.
Well,
I mean,
so when I was asking, I asked before who knew the rules of Canada. I didn't know that I didn't think you could have a gun, so you know for certain.
Yeah, for positive, because man, yeah, you can't have a gun. It's like Australia, I guess.
Right, that's
but
what
citizens can't have guns.
What about hunters and stuff? There's plenty of hunters.
I think there are some that are allowed. Yes,
it's a special permit. You got to pay for it, and they regulate it very tightly.
Okay.
But like normal homeowners, my understanding was cannot like get a pistol permit for self-defense.
Nope, no guns.
Wow. No wonder they all freaked out.
Well, yeah, seeing somebody with a gun and no one's allowed to have one. Yeah.
Chicago mayor. So right on the tail of this, Chicago mayor Rahm Emanuel comes out. It says 1 gun purchase per month.
So we can have 12 a year.
And Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel joins me now. Mr. Mayor, good to see you as always. You have a wide swath of proposals here, and we'll get to some of the specifics in a moment. You've definitely had some success bringing down the crime rate in 2013. But critics say that these laws that you're proposing will really not affect the people who are committing gun crimes in Chicago. Don't they have a point? The people who commit these crimes aren't going to the local gun store and buying guns legally, right?
Well,
you're right.
I would say no and yes. One is we're under court order to do this. So we took 6 months, developed what we think is a strong, tough, and legal way. If we're under order to allow gun sales within the city limits, but do it in a way that doesn't undermine the public safety that the public is demanding.
Now, hold on. I believe up until just very recently, and we never talked about this. Maybe you guys did. I know I didn't talk about this over the last few weeks. Where Chicago used to be, if I am not mistaken, a gun-free zone.
I thought it still was.
No. Something just passed the other day where it was ruled unconstitutional.
Oh yeah, well, didn't that one officer or captain request that people got guns to protect themselves? Wasn't that
Detroit? No, that wasn't in Chicago.
Oh, no, Chicago. Oh, okay.
No, Chicago was a gun-free zone, but just recently, over the last week or so, I saw something come through the feed that it had been ruled as unconstitutional by a judge. So all of a sudden now they have to allow guns to be sold in Chicago. Now, I'm sure Rahm's not liking that.
I thought that was like a statewide thing, and so Chicago had to adopt it.
Yeah, while this is playing, I'll actually go back and find the story, because I know I posted it. But, so now that's what this is. This is Rahm's, this is his solution to now being told that he has to allow gun sales. Yeah, I think you're right. It is a whole state thing for Illinois.
Yeah, and I think I read that on air, actually. I remember that, actually, now.
All right, well, I'll find something so we can refresh.
The challenge here is the flow of guns into the city. The lion's share of the guns do come from Indiana, Wisconsin, outside of the city in Cook County and downstate. For those very critics, I would say then join me in making sure that we have a foundation, which is a national background check, a limit on 1 gun a month and straw purchases. So rather than criticize what we're doing, join us in the effort of passing comprehensive gun legislation nationally.
A lot of the critics, the NRA and other organizations, they're quick to point out that there really isn't the gun prosecutions that need to be taking place. Northern Illinois, they say, which obviously includes Chicago, is ranked 90th, only above the U.S. territories when it comes to federal gun prosecutions. Does the federal law enforcement in Chicago have a problem there?
No, well, the good news is we have a new U.S. attorney. They are right about past, but Zach has decided and focused the office on gun prosecutions, working in conjunction with the local police department. ATF has been incredibly cooperative on gun tracing and gun tracking with us, and the new leadership at the federal level is very helpful. But you know what? You can say it's gun prosecution, and I'm for the federal government stepping up. You can say it has to be, tracing or what the ATF is doing. We also have a responsibility for comprehensive legislation. Now, in the report we issued earlier a week ago, City of Chicago has, as it relates to non-gun violence, the same level of crimes or violence in the areas that New York or LA do, meaning not with a gun, knives or other things. It's access to guns that is the challenge. It is the fact that the bulk of the guns come from Indiana and Wisconsin and downstate, which is why I've been an advocate since the days of fighting for the Brady Bill and the assault weapon ban. You need national legislation. This challenge
Of course he's been fighting for national legislation. By the way, it was the concealed carry law. It gave them the right to conceal carry as of the first of the year. So that's where this is coming from. That's why he said he had 6 months to work on this. Right. But here's the thing. He said they're coming from out of state as well. So how is limiting gun purchases going to prevent things from coming in on the black market or the underground from out of state?
Right.
It's not.
Exactly. It doesn't. It's not geared towards criminals. It's geared towards, law-abiding citizens.
But hear how he'd rather make it a national level thing. That's what they're pushing for. It's going to be national, which then means it's going to be international because we are going to bend right over to the UN.
Yep. Darn right.
Once it gets to the federal level, where the feds are going to pass some sweeping legislation, and they're trying again. I saw Boxer in California. Did you see, Zori?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
What?
Enough to talk about it?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, then I'll see if I can find some of that. She's trying to introduce a bill that I guess had been introduced once before, now on the tails of this shooting thing with the assistant director's son. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she's like Feinstein's little protege. Whatever Feinstein goes for, she does. Doesn't surprise me.
Not looking for one combination to the lock. It's a series of things across all fronts that you have to do, which is mainly dealing with access and to guns and limiting that access to the individuals that are trying to seek them from illegal purchases.
Great. That really didn't give us... That was just techno-babble bullshit.
Yeah.
It's almost like all these shootings are set up because immediately, they must have these stories ready for as soon as any shooting happens. They're all over the place.
Well, didn't we hear that clip yesterday that actually numbers have gone way down?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I was just going to bring that up. And so what Ram is saying is a bunch of BS.
Sure is.
They all are.
My God. It's, I don't know, dude. He can propose all he wants, but it's not going to work, dude.
Yeah, here, wait, I just found a story on Barbara Boxer. Let me try to get it up, because I haven't read it yet. I heard somebody mention it. Oop, boop, 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 boop. Here it comes. Senator Barbara Boxer, Democrat, California, is introducing legislation to create a way to confiscate firearms from quote-unquote unstable people. Here we go. Mm-hmm. So, again, we had an unstable dude who've been seeing psychiatrists, and right on the tails of that, we have the domestic terror reintroduction of the group, as well as psychological profiling via Android app coming to the consumer market near you. According to The Hill, Boxer says, quote, "We failed our children in Santa Barbara, and this bill serves as the function of keeping them safe." Boxer wants family members. Oh, yes, I did read this last night to myself. Barbara Boxer wants to give the right to family members to be able to, quote, petition the court for a gun violence prevention warrant. Call and turn in your family members to the Gestapo.
Whoa.
Oh, big whoa.
That's like a DARE program for kids on drugs. Well, now it's that same thought process for guns. It's wrong.
Well, it's see something, say something to the level of craziness. Why would you turn in your family members for anything?
Well, it's like, they'll put it out there just like they did to the DARE program to the kids. You'll be saving them.
But here's the thing.
Good thing.
Here's the thing. I've talked about this before. If you have a family member who is, quote, unquote, unstable, and they are going off the deep end, do you know that you cannot have that person involuntarily committed?
Right. They have
to. You can't.
Really?
No.
I know somebody that just happened to, and they freaking committed his ass.
He had to sign off on it. I mean, maybe it's state law. Each state's different. I just know in New York State, that person has to sign off on it. You cannot do it without their consent. Even if they are completely batshit off their rocker crazy.
Can't they take them for 72 hours, though? Like here, they can take anyone for 72 hours for observation.
They took him for 10 days.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. Maybe laws have changed. I haven't had experience with this in quite a number of years, but at one time I looked into it.
He's got lawsuits going, so.
All right, let me finish reading this little short story. All right, according to the Hill, Boxer wants family members to be able to, quote, petition the court for a gun violence prevention warrant, unquote. If granted, the warrant would allow police to confiscate firearms from the, quote, unstable, unquote, family member, and would also bar that family member from buying more guns. Now, first of all, again, like I said on Wednesday, unstable, just like crazy or annoying, they're all subjective terms. To whose definition am I unstable? To my family's definition? Who knows? My whack jobby wife might be unstable. I might be the sane one, but she decides that she doesn't want me to have guns in the house.
Right.
How many guys do I know, my dad's friends, that have batshit crazy wives?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And vice versa,
Or vice versa, right, exactly. So whose definition of unstable?
Well, they petitioned the court to do it, so I guess it would be the judge, which isn't a doctor, who will decide to give them the warrant.
Maybe.
That's insane. They're not these freaking definitions and these freaking policies that they're pulling out of their asses is so broad. It can be anyone can be labeled under this stuff for anything.
Yep, it is. It's making criminals out of all of us.
The common citizen.
Well, it's making criminals just on hearsay. Nobody's being proven guilty of anything. I mean, you were the one, Zori, in the very beginning who started talking about the snitches who don't need to identify themselves for drug busts. And that little boy, that 3-year-old boy or whatever that had the grenade blow up in his crib, I mean, that was based on an anonymous tip. And she and her son were just visiting.
Right.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, and the guy said they follow procedures. It was a horrible mistake, and we're sorry for the child, but they follow procedures.
Yeah, because they didn't see any toys in the yard, so they didn't think kids were there, so they threw a grenade inside, and it landed in the kid's crib.
Yeah, it's horrific. And nobody will be held accountable.
That's freaking crazy and insane.
But all I'm saying is people are being proven guilty without there even being a crime now.
Right. Just on hearsay.
There's no crime. I still want to hear more about the dude that was quote-unquote armed and dangerous with bombs running all over California who, apparently, I mean, I don't even know. It seemed to me in the last story that I heard the other day that he might not have even have known that they were looking for him. After he posted a goodbye note and email to some of his friends after being jilted by a girlfriend and losing a job. Wow. And they never said even what they found in his apartment. They thought there were rice and they thought there were bombs. And then the one says, well, there was no detonation gear in here. And no, we didn't find any substances. And there was explosive material. Well, Zori,
that could be gunpowder.
Right. I was talking about that case in California a few months ago where they evacuated that whole town, if you remember, because his house was
house to the ground.
He burned it to the ground because it had explosives and it was black powder. And he had reloading gear there.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that was, and I've written about it and talked to a lot of people about that. And it all came down to, because I wanted to know who gave the word for that. On whose authority did they burn this man's home to the ground? Which, if there had been something a bomb making chemicals and stuff, they would have put a big hole in the ground, right? Nothing.
Right.
Little household explosives, and they burned it to the ground. Well, I finally found out it was all on the word of our sheriff and his alone. And I told people, you know what? You might be next, because only the sheriff, it doesn't have to go through a judge or anything. The sheriff can make that decision now. Because they have a precedence.
In California, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts.
Oh, that's pretty crazy. Well, now if your roommate deems you unstable someday.
Oh, no.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be anybody.
No, it's a family member, but I mean, who knows?
It could be considered, family member too, I bet.
They'll probably have a hotline that you can call. I know they have hotlines in some places.
I'm sure they will.
Snitch lines.
Yeah, they just started water, controlling your water. You're only allowed to do certain things at certain times and stuff here in California and Sacramento. Well, within the first day, they got over 3,000 calls to the hotline of people telling on their neighbors. That's disgusting.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say, when they have those snitch lines, they give them a code that then they can redeem for a voucher for cash.
Mm-hmm. And, why don't you just walk over to your neighbor and say, hey, we're supposed to be conserving water. People don't talk to each other anymore. They have cops do all their talking, all their everything. I don't get it. And every time the police are called, it never ends up good for anybody. So, I don't know.
Here's a story about Feinstein, but it actually mentions Boxer. Considering the Isla Vista, California shooting was in her backyard, it seemed inevitable that Senator Dianne Feinstein would try to saddle the country with more anti-gun legislation. She claims she's finally taking a vacation from exploiting tragedy to push her unconstitutional agenda. But, she is encouraging more gun control at the state level. The other big but is that Barbara Boxer, the second half of California's gruesome twosome, is going to present a national gun control bill. National!
Just like Ron was saying.
Yes, just like Ron was saying. Following the trouncing of her assault weapons ban last year, Feinstein has lost her zeal to take away Americans' constitutional rights and instead is looking for a softer target by taking them away from Californians. She told a Southern California public radio, quote, currently, if police are sent to check on someone a family member considers a threat to themselves or others, they can't investigate unless they are granted permission by the individual. So kind of like what I was saying for the mental health stuff, right?
Yeah.
They cannot come in, she says. They cannot make a search. They cannot determine whether there are weapons there. They cannot have any kind of conversation that can show whether he's got all of his marbles or not, unquote. Yeah, this is the author of the article. Yeah, it really sucks when the police have to abide by people's rights and follow the law.
Really, you can't have that.
But don't worry, Feinstein has a remedy for that. She is offering 2 recommendations that will get rid of those pesky rights and allow cops to enter anyone's home and confiscate their firearms on a hunch.
Well, they did that, just probably 5 months ago? 3,000 officers went around in Southern California and took guns.
Those were people, and again, like I've said before, nowhere in the Second Amendment does it say Americans except those who have are on parole or have seen a psychiatrist. Doesn't say that. Those where they went and they confiscated, I actually saw some videos of that actually happening. And what they were doing is they had a list of people who had purchased the guns legally but have since become, under the definition, illegal if they were to go purchase new firearms. Now, my take on that is if they purchased them legally in the first place, shouldn't they be legal guns?
Yeah,
You
and
think?
if they do it, shouldn't they be compensated for the amount of money they're out of?
Or something, yeah.
At least.
Not have the guns confiscated and then sold at police auction, so the police then spend it all on their Christmas party or something.
Yeah, no shit.
Yep.
But yeah, so though it was a confiscation and step one of the process, right? Getting people used to seeing cops going door to door, checking on guns, taking guns if need be, peacefully.
Well, that's like the drug war. You know, they've done that so that, you know, people are used to, if you see cops and they're all full geared up and their black jackets and everything breaking into a home, you don't see the people around anymore, what do you automatically think? You automatically think, oh, it was a drug bust, and you just don't give it no other thought. And they have conditioned people to think like that. And now you take it to where it is now, where we have the NDAA, where they can come take anyone for any reason, and people are just going to go, oh, it's probably just a drug raid.
Well, I don't know if you think specifically that it's a drug raid, but I'll tell you what they do think, that, oh, he must have been doing something really bad. Even if you'd known your neighbor for 30 years and you see the SWAT team at their house, you're automatically going to think, wow, I thought I knew that dude. He must have been doing something really bad. He's guilty before anything was ever proven.
Right.
Or before he even possibly did anything wrong.
And we're conditioned to think like that, you know.
Pre-crime.
And if we don't follow it through. Right.
Exactly. So, all right, I want to read a little bit more. Continues on. Where did I end up? Okay. Yeah, it really sucks when you have to follow people's rights or go by people's rights and follow the law. Don't worry, Feinstein has a remedy for that. She's offering 2 recommendations that will get rid of those pesky rights and allow cops to enter anyone's home and confiscate their firearms on a hunch. Recommendation number 1. Empower law enforcement officers to request a warrant authorizing firearm removal when they identify a person who poses an immediate threat of harm to himself or to others, or who poses a risk of harm to himself or to others that is credible but not immediate. So every once in a while, you know, he has violent outbursts. You know, sometimes he gets mad and he's got a gun. He's got a gun.
Stupid.
This is just so diabolical.
It is.
And now the author continues. I kind of like the snarky fighter.
Yeah.
Gee, I can't see the police abusing this new power at all to gain entry to anyone's home for any reason. Hey, if you aren't doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to fear, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what people used to say? Just like a year ago, my mother. Well, I don't care they're spying on me. I'm not doing anything wrong.
God. It's the age-old adage of the idiot.
Well, that's when you say to them, okay, give me your password to all your bank account and this and that.
I'm just going to look. Yeah, and I'm not going to do anything wrong when I'm in there. It's not the age of the idiot. I'm going to say it's the age of you trust too much. I was having this conversation at dinner yesterday. It kind of got into... We didn't go down the path of GMO. I mean, she already knows all about GMO and mRNA and Monsanto and all that. But I was getting into now how GMOs and nanotech are being used in not only our foods, but in the containers for the nanotech that our foods are in. And about like BPAs and plastic and the things that they do to the body, and high fructose corn syrup, and how that is GMO corn, but also high fructose corn syrup in the tests that they've done in rats activate the same area of the brain as cocaine. So it's addictive, and it causes all of these health issues, which, again, the GMO corn is loaded with Roundup or glyphosate and all the things that they show that syndrome, that metabolic syndrome that high fructose corn syrup gives you is also the same symptoms of all of the physical breakdowns that exposure to glyphosate gives you as well.
And corn's in everything.
Yeah, just about. It is. Yep. All right. Recommendation number 2. Create a new civil restraining order process to allow family members and intimate partners to make sure we include the LGBT, to petition a court to authorize temporary removal of firearms. Yeah, like it's going to be...
Like you're going to get it back.
Right. And to temporarily prohibit firearm purchase and possession based on a credible risk of physical harm to self and others. So now let me think about this. Temporarily means that you're going to have to go through a psychological evaluation if you want to get your guns back.
Yep.
And do you think they're ever going to pass you once they got your guns?
Hell no.
Hell no. Especially if you start digging into your records, because now you're not protected by HIPAA. And they're like, oh, look, you've been to the doctor 5 times and told them that you had depression.
Right.
Oh, look, we looked at your credit card records and we saw that, you know, you go to a firing range once a month and pop off 600 rounds. Wow, that sounds like an angry man. Oh, we've been looking at the CDs you bought on Amazon. You like Ozzy Osbourne? That means you're evil. You know, I just see they have access to all that data already, people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, we're going to read a little bit more. And again, this is the snarky author, not me, though I would write these exact words. Gee, I can't see any spiteful partners or family members using this to screw over a husband or a brother that they're pissed off at.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. This is even worse than Mrs. Kravitz peeking out the window or the cowardly freaking informant calling the snitch line to get their code for their $50 gift card to Walmart.
Oh, shit.
Well, they were doing that for the gun trade-ins, right?
Yes.
That when they're expecting they're giving Walmart gift cards.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to continue a little more. So now, these Feinstein recommendations may look familiar because they are pretty close to a bill that California state Democrats have already introduced. They are also quite similar to a bill Barbara Boxer plans to bring to the U.S. Senate. So, you know, that didn't say that in that other story. This isn't a bill that Boxer's introduced in California. The other Democrats already did that. She's putting together a bill to introduce it to the Senate for federal legislation. But somehow, they are all Diane's idea.
Oh, yeah. Boxer doesn't make a move without, Feinstein's approval.
Now, this again is the author. I think Feinstein is suffering from Al Sharpton syndrome. In that she has to constantly flap her gums so people will pay attention to her. Or maybe it's a case of chronic Al Gore disease. Marked by a need to take credit for other people's work, like claiming you invented the internet.
That's a festering disease there.
Yeah, well, I call them usurpers, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
The disgusting thing of all is that Feinstein has a concealed carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So do all her bodyguards.
By the way, there was another shooting in Washington yesterday, in Seattle.
Oh,
at a university. Yeah. It was right before I went to bed, another university shooting.
Oh, God.
All right, last paragraph. Whichever the case, the Feinstein Boxer California Democrats' idea to allow authorities to take guns away from citizens without a fair trial or even a warrant is a bad one. There's no way for someone falsely accused to clear their name. There is no punishment for vengeful persons filing false reports, and there is no mechanism for anyone to regain their guns or gun ownership. This is the gun ban, gun confiscation legislation that liberals have been wet dreaming of. So there you go.
You bastards.
I don't know. They put a lot of these out there, but they don't pass.
Yeah, but then they keep reapplying.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep doing it.
Big enough to where they will pass it.
Well, this is what they're hoping for.
Well, here's the thing. All my liberal friends are still gun control freaks. And it's because they're looking at it through the eyes of people like Feinstein. Guns are bad. Guns are bad. And the media, as each of these shootings are happening, is playing this up for Sweeps Week, okay? It's ratings to harp on this stuff and to focus on this stuff, but there's also the agenda that's going on. There's a liberal agenda to push this gun control. This is what the UN wants, don't forget.
Well, see, and look, all the civil unrest and all the big protests and stuff, and they realize these people are getting stronger and bigger. The protests are getting bigger. These people have guns. What if they come for us? I think that's a lot of the motive, too.
Well, I think that because it's a part of our Constitution, there's never been anything that they really could do about it. But now they are just so freaking blatantly criminal.
Oh,
in every branch, in every level, town, county, city, state, federal, all of them. All of them. And I mean, again, not generalizing, there are probably still a few good apples out there, but they're all participating in it.
Right.
I don't see too many of them coming out anymore calling the kettle black. Do you?
Nope, not at all.
Sit down and shut up is probably what they've been told.
Yep, and they do it.
And so your silence means you're participating.
That's correct.
Exactly.
So here's the thing. I think as there's a larger criminal contingent growing on a daily basis in all levels of government, they're going, shit, man. People eventually are going to catch on to our gig, and when they do, they're going to be pissed.
Yeah, and they're armed.
Well, that's the thing. So I don't know if it's necessarily the protests. I think it's the fact that they are so beyond criminal at this point that there most certainly would be reason for them to be surrounded.
Exactly.
By any sane individual.
How far are they going to push this?
Well, here's something that I saw last night that I think you might find amusing or not. I didn't see too many people comment on it. But the European Central Bank, did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Has just pushed their benchmark interest rate for deposits.
Oh, yeah, I did.
To minus.
Yeah, how do you do that? Take
1%. Yes, it's going to cost you now to put your money in a bank.
Right.
They're going to charge you versus giving you interest for holding your money.
Right.
I mean, like they don't get enough with all the fees and penalties and all this and that. Now they're going to have minus interest.
Well, the reason they're doing it is because that benchmark interest rate also is going to bring down lending rates, right, for loans. So let's say right now, you got prime at 0. But, the bank's got to make some cash on it, so they're probably giving out mortgages at, I think when I looked the other day, because I usually pay attention to that, 3.5% or 3.75%. Well, obviously, in Europe, that isn't enough to spur any economies. So now, if they jack down the benchmark interest rate by 0.1%, that's going to affect the people who weren't making anything anyway. I mean, I think my savings account is at 0.03, people.
Jeez.
0.03%. I mean, it might as well be 0. That's like $1, if that, on a large balance. All right, what's 0.3%? But they're hoping that it's going to spur more borrowing by people because now the interest rates have gotten lower. But like this article that I was reading was explaining, we talk about inflation, and you are seeing inflation all over. Look at the price of fuel this winter. I mean, the $350 2-month-in-a-row electric bills that I ended up getting. We have electric.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the price of groceries. We used to be able to get groceries for a family of 3 for maybe $150 a week. A few times now, it's been $300, for the big trips when you're out of some of the big stuff.
Sure.
Hey, how is it sustainable?
And gas is also mirroring all that and going up.
Mm-hmm. How is that sustainable? It's not.
It's not.
So they're talking about the continent of Europe, I guess. Is it a continent? I mean, that's a pretty huge... Eurasia, I think, is the continent itself. Yeah. Right? It's all connected.
Yeah.
The continent is battling deflation. Well, deflation for the people isn't necessarily a bad thing now, is it? Where everything gets super cheap? I wouldn't think so. For the corporation, for the banks, for the money lenders, it sure is. Mm-hmm. Now, for anyone who runs a company who wants to sell stuff and make enough money to be able to employ employees, that's probably not a good thing.
Nope.
For wages, it's probably not a good thing. As companies make less profit, wages are going to have to go down, otherwise I'm going to go out of business. But if everything starts to get cheaper, well, also for the value of your home, and for your value of your investments, deflation.
Oh, everything.
But if it costs less money to survive, you wouldn't need all that inflation. I mean, shit's so overinflated now. Look at the stock market.
It's crazy. It just hit a new high yesterday.
Oh, no shit. I have my ticker up. It says it was, right now it's up 60. Oh, yeah, over 16,896.
Yeah, 16.8.
Holy crap. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Tell me that's not manipulated.
Wait till it's not going to take too much more for it to go to 17.
No, it's almost there. So, all right. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Here's a story that came out we've talked about some of this stuff before and some of the research that they've done in veterans. Now, apparently, they've done it on a rat, which I don't know how this is new news. I mean, we read that veteran story already a couple months ago, but scientists learn to selectively erase and restore memories in the brain. So maybe it's the erase and restore part that's new.
That's scary. That's about the scariest thing out there, to know that they can take away your memory and replace it with something else. I mean,
this was the end of dinner talk yesterday. I kind of left the end of dinner dangling with this.
Wow.
I'll kind of give you my postulation, I guess, when we get to... they do not... No, that's the next story. Okay, I thought they had an Android app picture down at the bottom. I was like, they do not!
Oh,
all right, I'm going to read a little bit of this. Wiping out memories at the press of a button, which is exactly what I was saying with nanotechnology and this new space telescope that can surveil anything and anyone. I mean, guys, if really the nanotech is in us, and I am sure that it is. I mean, they've been putting it into our stuff for quite a while now, at least since the 90s, as a flavor enhancer.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all... Do you remember? I actually brought this up to my daughter. I had like an epiphany, because I was talking about doing research years ago for somebody who would ask me about plastic beer bottles. I was like, plastic beer bottles? Who would want to drink a beer out of a plastic bottle? And... because I have always, since I was a little kid, had this plastic, I guess you'd call it a phobia, but it's not really a phobia. It's just that I have a really, really keen sense of smell. I could taste through my nose, literally. Like, I never have to, when I'm cooking, I never have to taste anything, because I can taste it just by waving the steam as it's cooking, and I can smell it, but it hits my taste buds.
Right.
Which, I researched that once. That's actually a kickback to lizards. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Lizards can taste with their nose. So I don't know. Maybe I got a genetic defect or something. But or I'm a lizard person.
Or maybe it's enhanced with you.
I've always had this. My nose has always been very sensitive, but I have allergies and shit too. So who knows? But anyway, how did I get? So I've never been able to eat or drink out of plastic, and it's really been difficult for me over the last few years, since everything, all of the condiments especially, have pretty much gone to plastic, like ketchup, or horseradish mustard. Like some of my favorite summer things are in plastic bottles now. My French dressing that I used to love. went from the glass to the plastic. So I stopped eating it, actually. And then after I found out, so I started researching this plastic bottle thing. Never really went over well. There are some out there specific, like in beach communities, because it's all about the beaches banning glass, right? And people don't like the taste of cans sometimes. So they had an alternative. But as I am researching this, and I'm getting into this plastics company's back end, this bottle manufacturer, and I'm reading about the process, and I'm reading about the science, and I'm reading about the flavor enhancement, I'm like, what? Flavor enhancement, the ability for it to stay fresher longer, and all that. It's being done with nanotechnology in the plastic.
Yeah.
So that got me then going, wait a second. So then I started digging into dressings and condiments. And I started finding that a lot of these companies are, yes, they all have their own R&D labs, including Monsanto. There is no big GMO nanotech R&D research department except for DARPA. But I don't know. I've never researched DARPA's connection between any of these R&D divisions in these corporations. Though you got to believe there's got to be a dotted line somewhere.
Right.
Right? Revolving doors, right? From government to corporation, just like Monsanto. Right. But like in Monsanto's case, there was a ruling a long time ago, quite a number of years ago, when people first started raising the red flag about GMO. And I remember in the very early days, I'm like, I'm not on board with this shit at all. They're not getting this into me. Because they weren't testing it on anything. And they said it was safe. And we had to believe them. It was brand new. There wasn't any 20-year study that I saw. It was just safe. And because there was this blanket safety statement, it gave carte blanche to all these corporations to have their own R&D department and start making up their own crazy shit to put in their food. And they don't have to label it. It doesn't need to go to the FDA for approval for each new design. It is just carte blanche approved. So, guys, we have no clue what we're ingesting at all.
Right.
And I can tell you there has been nanotech in our food for quite a while. So anyway, my thoughts on this at dinner yesterday was it's all it's got to take. And I think we might have even talked about this on the show and in chat. If it's already in us, maybe they're all laying dormant. And all it's going to take is like one big frequency beam from space.
Right.
To turn them all on.
Or the flick of a switch.
Or the flick of a switch, as this says, at the press of a button. And all of a sudden our memories are going to be replaced. This was the ending of my dinner conversation. Think about it. If it's all in us already, and they're already figuring out how to do this and get rid of memories and replace them with something else, how convenient would that be? That would disarm all of us, because none of us would remember how corrupt these bastards are.
That's right.
Or remember that we even had a gun. It's selective memory they're talking about, not wiping out your brain and putting in a new personality, though eventually that might be a way to do it. So let me read a little bit of this before we run out of time. Wiping out memories at the press of a button, just like with a neutralizer from the Men in Black movie. Yeah, remember that? They just hit that little pen and you forgot everything?
Right.
May soon become a reality. Researchers have managed to erase and then restore lost memory in genetically modified rats with the flash of a light. So just one big pulse of light, guys. And notice they mentioned genetically modified rats. So what's genetically modified about them?
Yeah.
You know? The study by researchers from, guess where the university was?
Don't tell me.
Uh-oh.
A study by the researchers from the University of California in San Diego, published in Nature Journal, is the first cause and effect evidence that strengthening or weakening connections between neurons in the brain can influence molecular or particular memories. Now, one side note, I read a story yesterday that I was also telling my daughter about at bedtime as she was reading her nightly novel. And this kid, she picks these books that are so huge, and I know it's because she's a procrastinator like me, and she doesn't want to go to bed like I never wanted to. But on the other hand, she's reading a 30, 40, 50-page book at 8 herself in bed every night before she goes to sleep. So I was telling her about the story I caught yesterday that says that there's definite proof that learning just before bedtime causes neurons to grow in the brain, causes you to end up with stronger connections, i.e. hence becoming smarter. So, hey, listening to UCY all night until bedtime is probably a good thing then, isn't it?
Wow.
Anyway.
That's right.
We can form a memory, erase a memory, and then we can reactivate it at will by applying a stimulus that selectively strengthens or weakens synaptic connections, says senior researcher Dr. Roberto Manalo, a professor of neurosciences, said in a university press release. Neuroscientists' finding may hold big potential for treatment such as Alzheimer's and post-traumatic stress disorder. Of course it does. All the people with post-traumatic stress disorders that have guns, too, and who are considered mentally unstable and reported by their family members. To prove their theory, Manilow and his colleagues resorted to a state-of-the-art technique, optogenics. Optical lasers were applied to stimulate a group of nerves in the brain of rats that have been genetically engineered to make them sensitive to light. Simultaneously, they sent an electrical shock to the animal's foot. Soon the rats learned to see a connection between the optical stimulation and the pain and fear every time the nerves were stimulated. Further analysis revealed that chemical changes occurred within the optical stimulated nerve synapses, which indicates a synaptic strengthening of that memory. So they're using fear and light to change the strength of synaptic nerves. I need to look more into this, guys. This is going to be a topic for Monday.
That's freaking scary.
That is scary because guess what? It says that they've reconditioned the rodents. Isn't that what they're doing to us right now? They're conditioning us with trauma-based mind control.
That's right.
All right, guys, we are out of time. Thank you, ladies, for being on today. I just want to ask everyone, please do us a favor. UCY's ads made a penny yesterday. That does not pay my Skype bill. So please love UCY for me. Everybody have an awesome weekend. It is Friday, so have a beer, because I'm going to tonight. Thank you so much for listening. Everyone hang out, because Friday's great radio. And hey, new shows on Sunday, Judas and Drew. So make sure you check the schedule. All right, guys, maybe we'll see you tomorrow night, Saturday night on After the Last Cup.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.